In this current generation of games, we are seeing upsell in every single AAA title, and hell, even some of the indie ones as well. We are seeing day one DLC, we're seeing additional skins, we're seeing season passes, we're seeing built-in microtransactions.
In the world of gaming, developers are constantly finding new ways to increase their annual income. Game companies such as Activision, Electronic Arts, and 2K Games release new titles every year, which gives them a better chance at financial success. These three companies have another thing in common, a scheme that other companies are starting to take on, and that is microtransactions. Microtransactions that have been incorporated into games can come in various forms. Loot boxes, in-game currency, season passes, and cosmetic upgrades for your character.
It's pointless. You pay like, what, 50, 60 quid for a game that should be full price, everything there, and then they're adding in little tiny things that should be there on release, and you're paying extra money on top of an already expensive game. Why was it not all added in the first place, sort of thing?
To start things off, loot boxes are virtual items redeemed by the player to receive a random selection of in-game items. Loot boxes have gained notoriety by gamers, associating them with the pay-to-win scheme. Pay-to-win allows players to fund their advancement in the game without them playing long hours. EA's 2017 title Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a prime example of this.
And I'm telling you, the shit that you get from the crates is awful. It's boring. It's shitty. It's as if they tried to copy Overwatch.
Loot boxes are akin to online gambling, since players are paying for the small chance of getting high quality game items. Loot boxes can also be earned in small quantities, or purchased using real currency in large quantities, which is often priced way above what it's actually worth. EA uses microtransactions in the Ultimate Team mode of the popular FIFA franchise, encouraging players to purchase an in-game currency called FIFA points.
This year I may have gone over the top really with FIFA 20, and probably 500 up most likely is what I've spent on Ultimate Team.
I estimated probably only about £100–150.
FIFA points give the players the advantage of allowing them to purchase player packs ranked from bronze to gold. Each pack contains players from any team in the game, which are then used to help the players create their own unique team. When a new FIFA title comes out, players cannot carry their Ultimate Team progressions to the new game. Every new FIFA game requires players to rebuild their dream team, which requires them to purchase more FIFA points, which could be an expensive process.
Because you're not guaranteed certain players, you spend a lot more amount just to try and get a decent play, and most of the time you don't even get it.
Another piece of expensive game content is the infamous Season Pass. A Season Pass allows gamers to pre-purchase additional content that will be released in the future, even before information about the additional content has been revealed. The problem here is that players are paying for content when they know little to no information about what they are buying, and may or may not receive a good reception from players when it's released.
But I remember I bought like a season pass or something, and I played some of the content, and it was pretty sure it was a Call of Duty game. It might have been Black Ops 3, because I got the hardened edition for Black Ops 3, and that came with a season pass, which cost extra money. That was about £90 altogether. And playing some of it, I was like, oh yeah, some of it's good. Then the other half, I was quite disappointed with. It was like, oh.
This can make the refund process a lot more complicated, as the warranty of the content could have expired. These days, additional content is required for the player to experience the full story of the game, and to expand the information of key events that occurred during a playthrough. To simply explain how the Season Pass works, imagine you start reading a new book. You then start to really enjoy the story just from the first couple of chapters. But as you progress through the book, you begin to notice that some of the pages have been torn out. These pages would contain information that could be essential to understanding the storyline of the game. Knowing the story and the goals are important to completing the game. Game companies would withhold these pages of information and seize the opportunity to sell the rest of the story to players after they've been hooked into the plot. Let's take the Season Pass of 2K Games' Borderlands 3 as an example. The Season Pass only contains 4 content packs, which are not equivalent to a fully released game. So why is the Season Pass almost priced at the same amount as the full game when it contains less content? This means players are paying £50 to £60 for the base game and another £40 to £50 for the additional content. Players are almost paying double to experience the full game. You may have heard of Steam's edition of Microsoft's Flight Simulator, a game where players can fully control a virtual cockpit of almost any aircraft. The game is popular among people who have created their own home cockpits. The game usually retails for $19.99, but if you want to experience the full game, be prepared to spend at least £3,000 for the additional content, as it contains over 250 extra add-ons. Certain games include the cosmetic add-ons, so the player can customize their in-game items such as weapons, armor, and vehicles. Cosmetic upgrades give the player no advantage during gameplay and are often priced way above their value. You may have heard of the term horse armor being said amongst gamers. This term originated from Bethesda's 2006 installment of the Elder Scrolls franchise, Oblivion, when Bethesda decided to release a horse armor content pack for the player's in-game steed. The horse armor doesn't give the player much advantage when using it in the game. Oblivion players called it a pointless piece of content and not worth the money. So why do people have to pay for cosmetic items when they give no advantage to the player? We have learned about how microtransactions are exploited by companies to acquire more money, but this is just scratching the surface. Companies will also use different game editions at the game's launch. The 3 main editions are the Standard Edition, the Deluxe Edition, and a Collector's Edition that usually includes an iconic piece of memorabilia from the game. The memorabilia of the Collector's Edition acts as the unique selling point, as the item would not be available anywhere else. Collector's Editions can be priced between £200 to £400 depending on the items they contain. But are the items in the Collector's Edition actually worth the price? And do some companies use their game's Collector's Edition to manipulate and scam dedicated players? This strategy has proven highly lucrative for game companies. And with it being so successful, it opens doors for other unethical schemes to flourish in the gaming world.
Our American way of life. Isn't it grand? Peace, freedom, and bacon and eggs. Seems perfect. But what if it's not? 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 What if it's not?
And in the world of entertainment, there are very few things as good as Fallout.
In the last few years, Bethesda Softworks have received a negative reputation, which is associated with their 2018 release, Fallout 76. Fans of the Fallout franchise questioned Bethesda's credibility after the game was released with game-breaking glitches.
Oh, Bethesda, you complete utter morons. What the hell are you doing?
There was no reason for the game to be released with these problems, as players who pre-ordered the game received access to an online beta to test the game's servers. A beta is a closed version of a game that allows the developers to analyze the servers so they could detect any problems that could affect gameplay. These game-breaking glitches would affect the game's first week of release, as it was met with heavy criticism and people started to lose interest fast.
A couple friends of mine had bought it and they were like, it's terrible. It's not what we were promised. It's not what we were expecting. And they stopped playing it within the first week and a half, I think it was, maybe 3 weeks.
The people who bought the collector's edition of the game had another problem on their hands. The collector's edition retailed around £180 and included items such as the Tri-Sentinel steel bookcase, a glow-in-the-dark map, a pack of mini figurines, a power armor helmet, and a West-Tech duffel bag. The duffel bag would set off a chain of events in the coming days that would give the players and the company a lot of grief. The events are known to some people as the duffel kerfuffle. The duffel bag that was advertised was made out of a canvas material, the same material that most backpacks are made from. What the players received was a weak nylon material bag that was wrinkled and creased on arrival. This is a bait and switch scam and considered a form of retail fraud. Players immediately took to social media and even threatened Bethesda with lawsuits. Bethesda responded by saying that the materials were unavailable for the manufacturing of the bags and that they would be too expensive to make. This response was nothing but a lie. In late November of 2018, it was revealed that online influencers received a canvas-made backpack for free at a Fallout 76 preview event.
Bethesda invited me to a Fallout 76 capture event. I played it for 3 hours. I can't talk about it yet and show you gameplay yet, but I do have 3 hours. Both it's going to be on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. I'll be live streaming 3 hours of it on my Facebook page when I can show you. So make sure you guys are following that.
As an apology, Bethesda gave recipients of the duffel bag £5 worth of in-game currency. Players refused to accept this as an apology. As more and more people complained about the issue, Bethesda announced that they would be remanufacturing the bags using the advertised material. However, customers would have to wait at least 6 to 8 months to receive their bag, but this was the least of their worries. Due to a fault with Bethesda's customer service website, the people who requested for the new bag had their personal details leaked publicly. This included home addresses, email addresses, and phone numbers, all there for anyone to see. The question now is, how can a company sink so low and treat paying customers like this? Fallout 76's launch was a failure from the start. The lack of care for the product was proven when Todd Howard said in an interview with IGN,
Once you launch, it's not how you launch, it's what it becomes. And
in other words, it means the biggest week of the game's existence doesn't matter to us. Arguably, Bethesda wanted to get the money first and then expect players to trust them to improve the game. At this point, trust was just an empty word to people. Players were finally seeing through the lies and deception of Bethesda after they announced another money-making scheme. Before Fallout 76's release, Bethesda's Vice President Pete Hines announced that all upcoming content and updates for the game will be free to everyone. This would be proven false a year later when Bethesda released their subscription service, Fallout First. Costing £12 a month, subscribers would get exclusive access to private servers, unlimited item storage, and other perks that free users couldn't. Fallout 76's subscription service got even more backlash as it was released with more game-breaking glitches. This game was all about making money by any means necessary. Every virtual world that players step into will remain with them forever. And as technology evolves, the ability to create more vivid and realistic video games becomes more easier. Players will always be excited for the games yet to come. However, in recent years, companies have used the latest technology to revive old titles. Titles from the late 90s to mid 2000s suddenly have a chance of being remastered or remade using the latest game engines. Games such as Crash Bandicoot, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Destroy All Humans and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater have all received a revamp that brings these classics to modern consoles. These video games help players create sentimental memories, which also creates the desire to play more of their favourite games. Arguably, companies thrive on this opportunity to help recreate those memories, but to turn this into a profit instead. Remastering classic video games is a great way for anyone from any generation to experience games that were played on past consoles. However, companies have abused this idea and will continue to do so. The problem is with companies who remaster games that haven't been on the shelf for longer than 10 years. The reason for this is because they want to continue making money using a specific title until they release new games. A great example of this would be Grand Theft Auto 5 from Rockstar Games. Originally made for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 and then re-released for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The problem here is that if you already own the original game, you will still need to pay the full price for the remastered edition. In recent days, Rockstar Games announced that Grand Theft Auto 5 will have an enhanced edition for the next-gen consoles of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. This would make this the third time that Grand Theft Auto 5 has been released. Why would customers need to pay more than once for the same game on the same platform? Especially with Xbox, as Microsoft have incorporated the backward compatibility feature with the Xbox One so that players can revisit their old Xbox 360 games. The Xbox 360 game of Bethesda's 2011 title Skyrim was able to be played on the next-gen console until Bethesda released Skyrim's Special Edition. The Special Edition was a remastered version of the game which included all of the downloadable content packs. The only difference between the original release of the game and the Special Edition is that the Special Edition is optimized for a more powerful console. Another company who like to remaster games are Activision. Activision recently announced that they would be remastering the first two games of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater franchise. This will be the second attempt at remastering the franchise, as the 2012 attempt of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD failed to please dedicated fans of the franchise. So the question is, how many times does a game deserve to be remastered? The word remaster is used to describe improved features of a product. If that's the case, why are some remastered games released worse than their original? Players that experienced 2K Games' remaster of Mafia 2 were not impressed, as the game contained no major changes from the original. PC players also experienced problems such as the game constantly crashing and missing important textures. Unfortunately, this is not the only remastered game that has received a negative reception. Players have also reported that the enhanced edition of the first Borderlands game contains bugs that affect the game's frame rate. This could cause the game to stutter and increase the risk of the game crashing. 2K Games have yet to release an update to fix these problems. Almost every game released will have problems that companies will fix through an update. If companies continue to ignore the problems that their games have, their reputation amongst players will drop significantly. And it's already started to happen. With players taking to social media and expressing their anger, companies will realise that their business plans, like their games, need to be remastered. So how else can we express our anger?
I know I have seen online a few times actually people trying to take game companies to court about it, and to be honest, if it ever comes more serious, people should get together and try and take these companies to court and literally go full bore at it and try and get them to just stop, because the amount of money these companies are raking in is horrendous amount of money.
The main thing they could possibly do as a whole is just not pay for them. Just refuse to pay for the microtransactions, or if the game is too expensive, just tend to not buy it.
We are entering a new generation of gaming, and this generation is created by the players, for the players.